What's up, Grayson? All right, so this is piecewise functions. Just a really quick overview. This is how I'm going to graph this guy here. So that's what we're trying to graph. We're trying to graph that thing. That's the problem. And this is the steps I'm going to take. Number one, I'm going to graph each of the quote function. I'm talking about I'm going to graph that guy, and then I'm going to graph that guy. Then I'm going to identify the pieces of those functions. So the way that we're going to identify those pieces is we're going to use that restriction on that piece, and we're going to use that restriction on that piece. So we're going to identify the pieces. And then the last step is I'm going to put them together as a single graph. I'm going to put your answers right here. All right, so let's get at it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to graph x squared plus 1. That's this guy right here. So we're going to graph x squared plus 1, and we're going to graph it right up in there. So we're going to grab the x squared plus 1, and we know it's a quadratic that's been shifted 1 unit up. So if I was going to graph the quadratic shifted 1 unit up, I know that it's going to follow the pattern 1, 3, 5, 9, 7. I don't like that one, but that's what a lot of teachers use. So I'd be like, okay, so that's the graph I'm going to have for that quadratic. All right, so that's the first thing is I'm graphing the x squared plus 1, and that's the first part of the function. Then I want to identify the piece of the function that I want. That sounds kind of weird. So one more time, I want to identify the piece of the function. Now it tells us right here that we want x less than 0. That means we want the negative side. We want this side of the function. So when I graph that blue piece right there, what I really want is just this part right in there. All right, so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for just that guy. So I'm going to grab just that guy, and I'm going to graph it onto my solution over here. So we're going to graph this, this, and this, and that's the piece that I want. Now it is an open circle, so we can't equal 0. So I'm going to make sure that this dot right here is an open circle. So I'm going to go back and kind of erase some things. So we'll just erase it just a bit. Sorry, I messed up my y-axis. And I'm just going to throw a fat circle right in there because we can't equal it. But we have to graph the other function, and that's this guy over here, the x minus 1. So we're going to graph it there. And x minus 1 is a linear function with a y-intercept of -1, boop, right there. And then it's going to go up 1 and over 1. It has a slope of 1. So we're going to graph our line right there. Let's get that guy to be as straightish as possible, I guess. So kind of looking like that. And then it graphs this way. Now remember, we want to identify the piece we want, and this is saying we want L of the graph that is greater than or equal to 0. That means we're going to include it this time. So what we want is this side of the graph. So we're going to graph this piece right here. So I'm going to grab that, I'm going to graph that piece. So we're going to grab it. It starts at the bottom down there, and then it's going to be a closed circle because we want to include it, and then it's going to be the rest of the graph. And that is the answer right here. So that's our answer to our graph. If you have any other questions, man, like you did, hit me up on email. Other than that, good luck with finals. I'll talk to you later.